Now, here's another Everest Insight with Survivorman Les Stroud.
If you're going to climb Mount Everest, you're going to need a ladder. Seriously. Climbers approaching from the south side will need to cross the Kumba ice field, a dangerous maze of nasty crevasses.
A crevasse is a massive crack in the ice, formed when a glacier moves or the ground beneath it falls away. They can get pretty deep and wide and represent one of the most potentially dangerous parts of any climb.
Every year, the Sherpas and guides lay ladders across the crevasses to act like bridges and secure them in using ice screws and snow stakes. Last year, the icefall had 12 crossings requiring ladders. In one case, they strung together 5 ladders over a crevasse 20 meters deep. Actually, crossing on the ladders isn't all that tough. It just takes some good balance.
Climbers wear rigid boots like these and crampons.
You could practice and train for it in your own backyard. The real challenge here is psychological. If you do get vertigo, you're in for a tough time. Many mountaineers claim that this is the most daunting part of climbing Everest. And if I were over a true Everest crevasse right now, I know I'd agree. It's just mind over matter. There. Now, using your ladder to clean the leaves out of the gutter, looks pretty tame.
Stay tuned for more from Les Stroud as Building a Thrill Ride Expedition Everest continues.
The design team creating Expedition Everest is working, rain or shine.
Bring it down.
Can they finish the attraction in time for opening day? So many groundbreaking designs could do in the construction schedule.
Just a little bit.
The focus now is at the base of the mountain, where workers construct a Himalayan village. For the millions of guests who will visit Expedition Everest, the adventure begins here. In this village, things are definitely not what they seem, but everything is true to the story.
And we want to work into these buildings a certain amount of distortion. None of these buildings in the real world are vertical, plumb, straight buildings like we're used to here. They're completely settled, twisted, over many, many years of existence.
Architects need to capture the look of an ancient village while meeting modern building codes.
The story of this building is, of course, that it's a stone building, but what we really wanted to try and do is make it look as if it was starting to subside. So the right-hand side of the building is sinking down. So what we've done is we've created an arc in the eave above. We've started to set the windows so that they are all no longer in a horizontal line, but starting to sag down.
So on this building, we've got the rammed earth construction.
All of the architecture of the Tibetan Himalayas is symbolic. Every color has meaning. Some people think the black around the windows is to actually heat the wall up so that that hot air is drawn into the building and keeps it warm.
The reason we're using red on the corners is there's a cultural significance to the red, and it's kind of a protective color. And what it is that you want to protect the corners, protect around the openings of doorways.
What's inside the buildings is just as important to the story as what's outside.
We acquired over 8,000 props. So that should give an idea of almost a museum-like quality of your experience.
The props team went on a second-hand shopping spree in Tibet. They bought everyday items from everyday people.
We're buying their scissors, their animal troughs, their egg baskets, things that it wouldn't occur to anybody to ever sell. So we'll go out and we'll meet people, talk with them, become friendly, and ask them if they're willing to part with some of their things, and we'll buy them new things instead.
Yeah, these big old fat, these are like handmade nails.
They're all hand forged, and we bought his whole supply, which probably was a year's worth of nails. So I'm sure he took a nice vacation after we did business with him. We tend to go into a lot of these places and buy out the entire store.
Okay.
It's kind of like if you walked into Sears and said, yeah, I'll take it.
Even new artwork has to look old, so it feels like it's been here for centuries.
We had to, through many sort of strange physical means, make these pieces look old.
That can make the artist a little testy, especially when they've created something really special.
I try my best to let the artisans finish it completely, and then have a separate crew of artisans age it. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Here's the aged masterpiece after it's been glued back together.
What we found works very well. It's kind of funny out here, and everybody makes fun of us for it, but it's a technique using peat moss. We throw it on all the buildings, on the statues, on the wood, and it's kind of the final touch of aging.
The peat moss creates random blotches, an artistic version of age spots.
People often ask, why do we put in this detail when people aren't necessarily going to see the detail?
Well, we really feel that our guests can absorb a lot of that detail, and it really adds to the richness.
Because everything is so realistic. When it rains, when you're in a storm, it just feels more real. So I think it kind of looks great in the rain.
Meanwhile, ride designers work on the coaster. The biggest challenge here is staying true to the story.
We wanted to tell the story of an Asian village at the base of the Forbidden Mountains where trekkers are going to take a steam train through the Forbidden Mountain Pass.
This little steam train's going to pull up and let off steam, and you hop on board, and away you're going to go for your very convenient and merry trip through the pass to Everest.
But there's a problem. How to make a roller coaster look like a steam train and sound like a steam train, but thrill riders like a roller coaster. It starts with the car design.
It's an aluminum structure with fiberglass panels bolted to it. That was the most efficient structure.
The car is light, and every ounce counts in constructing this coaster ride. It all comes down to what's called a weight budget.
You have a weight for the fiberglass, a weight for the seats, a weight for the guest restraints, a weight for the wheels, all these things, and you come up with a final budget. The challenge through the design process was getting each one of these subsystems to come in on budget.
But it's got to look like a train, too. An old train. It's up to the artist to turn back time.
It's got soot all over the cab, and that we're going to have tons of rust on all this steel. It's supposed to be cast iron, and then it's heavily, heavily rusted.
But there's another difference between a coaster car and a steam engine. Steam.
We have a steam effect, so when the train comes in, you get the feeling that it really is letting the steam go, getting ready to go out again.
It takes some smoke and mirrors to transform a coaster car into a steam engine.
Over here at the beginning of the load area, we have our steam effect. The steam has a boiler, which is right outside the building.
The trick is getting the steam from outside the building, inside the train, and out the smokestack.
That boiler will feed these pipes down here, go through some regulators, some filters, comes out, and we have two special nozzles. We have these fan nozzles on either side of the train, underneath the train. The steam goes off, and it goes under the train, it comes up the smokestack, and we're ready to board.
In the story, the train is on its way, heading into the Forbidden Mountains.
When you crest up into the mountains, you zoom around to this broken track, you come to a dead halt, and the track's torn to shreds in front of you, giant footprints in the snow. At this point, the ride becomes, oops, we have to get away from the Yeti. And so now our journey becomes get back home, get away from the destruction wrought by the Yeti, and return back to the village.
Here's the dilemma. The train has to suddenly come to a stop, reverse, and go backwards in 6 seconds, something never before done in the world of roller coasters. There's a good reason why not. It's really hard to do. Engineers finally find the solution, ironically enough from the world of railroading. Track switches, but these are no ordinary switches.
We're standing right here at brake zone 2. This is track switch 2. There's two identical switches. These track switches pose the most challenging design issue that we had on this project. These track switches weigh 200,000 pounds apiece. We had to fly them in with a special crane, and the creative requirement to meet with the storyline was that they operate in 6 seconds.
Here's how the track switches work once the train stops. Start your stopwatch, please. The computer gives a signal that unlocks the locking devices. The track switch rotates, and the locking devices relock. 6 seconds, and then the train moves on. With the train cars, tracks, and track switches in place, the team is ready for a critical test, which would take the train around the mountain for the first time.
Tower, can I have an enable?
Coming up, the moment of truth. The coaster's fully loaded with people-sized containers of water and ready to roll. Later, meet the star of Expedition Everest, the ever-elusive Yeti.